Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Way of Life. I'm your host, Gus Holland. I want to do, per usual, a big shout out to everybody that's been supporting the podcast. It has been growing even since that last little episode that I put out, just as a kind of like a welcome back kind of episode. It is now, I know some of the stats are coming from people with VPNs and everything like that, but it's reached over to this date over 516 cities across the world. Like, I think I'd have to look at the stats, but I think it's like over 50 countries, maybe 60 countries. I'm not sure, but it's really cool. I'm a very analytical person, so it's really cool for me, or really cool to me, to be able to see all of that stuff. It's pretty wild, but yeah. So we're back with full episodes from here on out. Every Wednesday, like I said. I'm gonna try and actually, I'm 100% not going to have any type of filler content, fake hype, anything like that. Any of the BS you see on TikTok. Like, I love TikTok to a point, but it's kind of gotten out of hand, and it might just be from doom scrolling, but it's like you get burnt out with people. Like, it almost feels like people are jerking you around, like, buy this, no, buy this, oh, you need to do this instead of that, and blah, blah, blah. And it's really kind of, we've gotten to the peak of consumerism, I believe, to the point where everybody's kind of just getting burnt out on it. There's always, like, no matter what you do, there's always something, or, well, within the eyes of those types of communities that have gotten kind of toxic, there's always something you did wrong. Like, I mean, you could post that you were so excited that you lost 100 pounds over the past year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever. And there's going to be a bunch of people in there saying how, oh, it would have been faster if you did this, or, oh, well, you did this one thing a certain way, and that's unhealthy, or whatever. Anyways, I'm not trying to get on here and rant. But my point is if you're still subscribed, I owe you major. So I'm super grateful. From here, the show is about lifting weights, obviously, but not just lifting weights. So the point of the show is to kind of lift everyone's spirits, in a sense. We want success inside and outside of the gym. Eventually, I'd like to just constantly have guests on that are talking about their successes inside and outside of the gym. Like I said, that's why in the past I've had anywhere from professional musicians all the way to strong men and fighters and all kinds of different people that own gyms, to kind of talk about the business aspect of that, and also get kind of like a behind the scenes look at either owning a gym or how they got to that point or anything like that. So we're definitely going to have a mixed martial artist on in the upcoming episodes, as well as a strong performance strongman. He's been on the podcast before. Actually, both of those guys have been on the podcast before. John Walsh and Brian Shermerhorn. I hope I said his name correct. I'm sorry about that if I didn't. But yeah. I've also got been in talks with someone that makes custom lifting implements, such as like circus dumbbells and all kinds of stuff like that. It's really interesting. And I'm excited to get that person on the podcast to also talk about his business of, I mean, he does other things, but he's a metal worker. So I'd like to see how he got there, what his plans are in the future, etc. My point is that the episodes are going to be really cool, and we're going to get back to interviewing some people that are very, very interesting individuals. Anyways, to start this episode and get to the actual meat of it, we're going to be talking about training beyond the gym. So a lot of people have reached out over the years, and they've said, oh, well, what if I don't have this type of equipment? What if I don't have access to a gym? What if I'm limited on time? There's a million what ifs and everything like that. And if someone's reaching out, those aren't excuses. That's actually like things that are in their way, and they're actually trying to better themselves. It's different if you talk to a buddy that's out of shape and he's got a million excuses and you brought it up. But if people are reaching out to me or to others and asking for some sort of guidance or maybe a tip or a trick or something like that, they're actively seeking a solution. But my point, what I'm getting to is that fitness isn't a hobby. It's not a punishment. It's not about getting a six-pack. It's a whole different perspective, and it's a way of life. It's a way of existing in the world. So it's an every single day type of thing. Basically, if you took away gym memberships and all the special clothing, special supplements, any of the hype that you're seeing on TikTok where they're pushing you in certain directions or, one way or the other, would you still be living a fit lifestyle, like a healthy lifestyle? So the overall goal of this podcast is to make like a massive overall change to the culture. That's whether that's worldwide or it's just America, or the United States, or if it's just Texas, what have you. But or even if it's just my local community, there needs to be a big perspective shift around how fitness is perceived. People in America, at least, see it as a chore for the most part. There's avid gym goers, don't get me wrong or anything, but overall, people are like, oh, I need to lose weight. I gotta go work out. I gotta do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's seen as like a massive temporary imposition that is just gonna be negative for them. But in reality, it's you just need to focus on eating a little bit better and focus on being a little bit more active and everything. Everywhere I've lived in Texas, it is not walker friendly. You can't really walk to the store. You can't really walk to work, things like that. There's not a lot of bicycle lanes. There's not a lot of infrastructure built around that. If you go to, I've been to Scotland as an example. You go to Scotland, at least in the cities, you can walk pretty much everywhere. And everything's kind of within a reasonable distance. Their public transportation is massive over there. So you get too tired of walking, you can hop on a bus or, whatever. There's a lot of options. And so it's a little bit more conducive to a healthier lifestyle. So yeah, at least in Texas, we drive everywhere. If you're if you have a long driveway, you drive down to check the mail and you drive back. Like it's crazy. But so really, like as far as fitness goes, it's just that mindset shift of, oh, this isn't like a pain for me. This is something that's going to like change my life for the better. And I just need to change like a couple small aspects here and there, instead of, oh, I got to go to the gym every day for 5 or 6 or 7 days. And I need to follow this exact certain diet and blah, blah, blah. And then you either burn yourself out or you get upset about it because maybe you're not seeing results right away or it's overcomplicated. There's a lot of different reasons, but we need to get that shift going. Like whatever it takes for you to like make that shift in your mind. Like maybe you just need to sit down and just think about it. Like, to be honest, is we're kind of like overstimulated with like bullshit knowledge on social media. That's just people talking, they're just talking and talking and talking. And nobody's ever really like making any progress for themselves or anybody else on social media. It's kind of like, buy my course, do this, here's some tips and tricks to blah, blah, blah. And like, it's always steering you in a certain way. But, I mean, I've been, as far as fitness goes, I've been like up, down, and all around. I've played sports when I was a kid, and I've went through a phase in childhood where like teenager years and all that where I didn't play sports. But I've always had like massive interest in weightlifting because of growing up with my dad being a bodybuilder and all that stuff. But I went through that to being in such a, tight financial spot where like I couldn't afford a gym, couldn't afford good food or clothes or anything like that. It was super rough, and kind of like that's also a perspective thing. It's like, oh, now I've got to just focus on, either getting a better job or getting a better living situation or, whatever that takes to be able to, feel like I'm not just surviving anymore, so I can actually focus, do things that I like lift weights, like if you're not, if you're, it's kind of like those survival shows where they're trying to survive out in the wilderness and everything. You're not going to be out there just working out on camera while everybody's like, no, it adapts to the situation you're in. So if you can't afford food, focus on the job, obviously. Don't focus on the gym. Like, I don't know if that's, if you like going to the gym and you can afford it, go, obviously. My point is that different situations call for different perspectives, but anyways, back to my stories. Like I got to a point where I could afford, regular meals and things like that. And then I was like, oh, well, I still can't afford a gym membership. So what if the next place I rent, I'll try and see, get a place that's in my budget, but try and get one that has a gym, that I can have access to. And that's what I did, for like 2 or 3 years. I had an apartment that had, within the complex, had a very crappy, but a very crappy gym, but it had a gym, and it was better than nothing. So, yeah, I spammed lat pull downs a lot because, there's only so much you can do with all that. But, given my knowledge now, there's a whole bunch you can do with just body weight exercises and stuff like that. But anyways, but yeah. And so then, I went through a phase recently. Well, it's called a phase, whatever. It's, basically that time period where I was doing amateur strongman. That was literally just because I like, it sounds crappy, but because I've always wanted to try and stay lean and muscular, and I didn't have for a time period I had an interest in being a bodybuilder. I thought it was so cool, and it was mainly because of my dad and everything, and I like thought about competing and all this and that. I decided later on that I didn't want to do that. I like, I support all of that, but like, that's not something that I want to do with my body. And so went through that kind of phase, and then got to where I was working way too much, and putting myself and my family in a big, like, tight spot, not financially, but just as far as my time goes, and just working so many hours, you just come home, go to sleep, and then go back to work. Then obviously you can't gym and do all that stuff then either. So anyways, I ended up gaining a lot of weight, and I was like, well, I've always been curious about strongman, and here's this strongman competition that kind of fell into my lap and all that. And so I went and competed my first amateur strongman competition at the Ronnie Coleman Classic, and that was did not go well. But I was the most amateur of amateurs. I'd have a lot of lifting experience, so I'd never touched a strongman implement. And so when I signed up as a novice, I was a very, very true novice. Hadn't even seen a competition except for what was on ESPN. But had never been to one in person, so if anybody's interested in that, training strongman or anything like that, go watch some competitions in person. Go put your hands on the actual implements and everything, and you'll have much, much greater success than I did. I placed last, obviously, but I wasn't ashamed of my performance, but I did not like how it turned out, and yeah, it was all right, but it's a learning moment, and it was something that I'm happy that I, like, in hindsight, I'm happy that I did. But anyways, fitness in general, yeah, it just needs to be a lifestyle, and it's not a 12-week program or a 8-week program or whatever they try and sell you online. Like, you still, whatever, it's like your diet, you need to form it to what you can do and what you can enjoy while still being healthy, Now, where the discomfort comes in is because of that. That's what I was trying to get to back when I was talking about certain environments not being conducive to naturally healthy lifestyles and everything. So the reason that working out or going out of your way to be fit seems like a big deal, and it's frustrating and potentially scary for you or whatever, is because it's it's not something that feels natural, because in your situation, you're not like set up for that to be a natural thing for you. Maybe you grew up with, like nobody that you knew worked out, so it's actually a weird thing for you, and you might feel uncomfortable, or, who knows? I can definitely see how it could be, intimidating for sure. Either the gym or just like changing your lifestyle in that direction at all, so anyways, I'm always here. If you're a listener of the podcast, you can always reach out to me. Best bets is the comments, but I'll always do my best to help you or to motivate you and steer you in the right direction. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I don't sell any training courses or dietitian framework or anything like that. But I can at least give you a push somewhere. But a lot of people, as far as the view of fitness goes, there's a lot of people that see fitness as like their grind to earn food. They almost see it as like, oh, I spent 30 minutes on the treadmill, so I can eat this ice cream or whatever. And whatever, it's kind of one of those deals where it's like whatever works for you, but I wouldn't necessarily say that that's like a healthy mindset. Like you can definitely reward yourself, but sometimes it's kind of like if the reward is bad, like say it's bad for you, then if you're burning 400 calories doing cardio and then you come eat 1,000 calories of ice cream, you're probably better off just not eating the ice cream and not working out, so it needs to be obviously proportional, or maybe you can even find something that's healthy or good for you that you set up as your reward, whether that's like food wise, or I mean, you're not a dog. Like you don't need to be rewarded with a treat like a dog, with a piece of food. You're a human, and you need to just sometimes do the work. Like the gym is there to replicate the fitness that you're supposed to like naturally accumulate, but because of the way society is set up currently, almost nobody actually naturally gets fit. So it's also not a quick fix for aesthetics. Maybe, I mean, unless you live like a super like healthy lifestyle already, and you're like, I just need to lose, I want to lose 5 pounds for the beach or whatever. Like, yeah, then okay, ramp it up or whatever. But and that, that would be a quick fix. But as far as like, if you're trying to go from 30 pounds overweight to having a 6-pack, it's unreasonable to do in a super quick amount of time. But I see that every day, all day, is people selling courses to gullible people or people in denial that want to have these quick changes. It's like the whole get rich quick schemes. It's all the same. It's just either out of denial or desperation or laziness. You're wanting a quick fix, and that's not what the fitness is. And then some other people, they actually see it as a punishment for bad habits. So that is not, I guess technically that would get you in the gym more often, because everybody has bad habits or bad things you do in life or whatever. But it fails a long time. All of these things fail a long time, but the punishment for bad habits, one, that's I guess like subconsciously almost allowing yourself to do the bad thing because you're going to get punished for it later. It's like, just don't do the bad thing. If you're in a constant cycle of eating junk food, every time I eat a cheeseburger, I got to go to the gym because I need to burn it off and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, you can just not eat the cheeseburger. Or whatever, whatever it is, not eat the fast food and just go to the gym, or don't go to the gym, whatever at that point. My point is that the punishment for bad habits does not last long term, because it's a vicious cycle of doing good and then doing bad and then doing good and doing bad. And you're typically, with that kind of lifestyle or perspective or whatever, you end up not seeing any change, or maybe you're still drifting toward the negative repercussions of those actions. Maybe you're still gaining weight, but you're only gaining like half a pound every month. So then you don't realize that, you're out of shape at the end of the year, and all you did was beat yourself up. But basically, back to that fitness as a culture or a way of life or a way of being, that framework is like a good way to look at it is like movement. Everyone has daily rituals, like maybe it's coffee, or I would say most people use some form of caffeine during the day because they think it gives them energy. And it really doesn't give you energy. It just kind of like forces your body to start spending it faster. But anyways, I digress. But forming fitness into being like a piece of your culture, or like your core ideology, is key. So like movement as a daily ritual. So instead of like cardio being a punishment, you're like, oh, well, from anytime I go to this store to get, to stock up on my makeup, or to, whatever is close to you, maybe it's to buy a gallon of milk or whatever, I'm just going to walk there. Like, it's 2 miles, but I'm just going to walk there, and obviously do it during daylight, and as long as it's safe and all that stuff. But just introducing little things into your life that become rituals, preferably daily rituals. That's like the best way to do it. I hate cardio like 100%, and it is tied to bad experiences I've had in sports that are also, it's also tied that, it's all tied to my lung issues. And so I was like, well, what's a good way that I can like quit looking at cardio as like a punishment or having to do something I hate and blah, blah, blah. And I really don't have to do cardio, but it's a great way to burn fat, and it's a great way to burn stress, and you name it. It helps. So I'm gonna do it. So I have a stationary bike in the garage, and I would just say, hey, well, here's a perfect window where my kids are asleep, and my wife loves to read. I love to read too, but she really loves to read, and so. Here's a perfect window. The kids will be asleep. She can read. I can go out into the garage, and I'm going to do like a HIIT style, high intensity interval training style workout on the stationary bike, and with while varying the resistance. And so while I'm out there, I'll watch something on my phone, some episode of something that my wife isn't interested in, or listen to an audiobook that I have downloaded, or some music or whatever, and just knock out 30 minutes of like HIIT cardio. And why overcomplicate it as far as like scheduling and all that? Just for me personally, I'm going to do this every night, like 7 days a week. I'm going to go do 30 minutes of that. No matter, unless I'm sick or something, but like no matter what else, like no matter of my weight training schedule, no matter of anything, that it's like, that's at nighttime. I'm always home at night now. So do that. And that's your ritual. And it's really not that bad. It's like, since I get to enjoy some, a show that I like, or audiobook or music or whatever, that's actually the plus. It's like, oh, you get some extra time to enjoy some media that you like or whatever. You can also look at food as nourishment instead of like a restriction. So you're saying, oh, well, I hear a lot, like with the keto and everything, I can't eat bread, I can't, blah, blah, blah. And it's like they're saying it like they're like it's a punishment, or like they're like some prisoner to their diet or something like that. And one, if you don't, and it works for people for sure. Like, I'm not knocking it at all, but it's like, if you don't have a gluten intolerance or celiac disease or some very immediate issue with your heart health, or something like that, like bread here and there is not gonna kill you. But it needs to be seen as nourishment. So you need to form a diet that you love, and that is also good for you. So obviously, if you feel like way better when you don't have bread, maybe don't do bread, whatever that is. Or maybe it's just everything in moderation, just a simple, basic principle of controlling your eating habits and everything. Just say, hey, well, yeah, okay, I'm not eating this healthy thing, or I'm not, the big thing's overeating. You're like, well, I'm not overeating, but now because I'm controlling this, I'm not feeling as bloated, or I'm not getting as sick as often. You name it, whatever the benefit is, you can see it as the bonus, and how it's not either a restriction or something to be upset about. But that's all part of the mindset shift that I'm kind of getting at, is to be a fit person versus trying to get fit, or trying to be better, or trying to eat better, or whatever. Just know, like, you're a fit person. You're a person that takes care of themselves, and you're happy about taking care of yourself. So that's kind of like a self-love thing. It's the same as like talking to, so I used to I still struggle with, body image issues and all that, or whatever, like most people do. But like, I used to, just in my head, I wouldn't say it out loud, but like, get out of the shower, walk past the mirror, and when I was overweight, be like, oh, you fat piece of shit, like, this is fucking gross, like, what are you doing? And just be super, I would talk to myself internally worse than I would talk to almost any person in the world, and that's not the way you should go about taking care of yourself. So anyways, the other thing, if you're interested in learning about diet and exercise and everything, I know I've touched a lot about exercise in this podcast and not so much about diet. It's mainly because not that it doesn't interest me. It's just I am less versed in the nutrition side of things. I would say I eat a pretty healthy diet, but I'm not as comfortable giving nutritional advice. But anyways, something really interesting that you can look into are things like blue zones or farming practices, even martial arts rituals, like different real world examples of different types of cultures and individuals who embody some form of like fit lifestyle or have some sort of outlier that really sticks out from normal society. And you can even like make it fun, like, oh, well, yeah, on Wednesdays I do jujitsu and I go hang out with these guys at this jujitsu gym and blah, blah, blah. And then on Friday I have a little free time during work and I study about jujitsu or we watch old kung fu movies or what, like you can do, just you need to make it fun for yourself, basically. But as far as like actionable takeaways from this, I mean, you could replace one sedentary routine that you have with a movement-based one. So like when you wake up in the morning and you're all groggy and stuff and you go get coffee and you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to do like a little bit of stretching while my coffee brews, or instead of taking the elevator at work, I'm going to take the stairs from now on. Or each time I take a phone call, I'm going to stand, or I'm going to maybe pace a little bit instead of sitting there at my desk all day. Things like that it's like super small, and it won't necessarily make you lose a bunch of weight or anything like that, but it's going to slowly start shifting your mindset to where if you keep doing little things like that, by a year or two from now, you'll be like a whole different person. But another thing is you could add, pick one protein-rich food and try to start adding it to your meals while cutting something unhealthy out from your day. So if you maybe every day when you come home from work, you grab a bag of chips and you're like, well, it's not that bad. They're, zero trans fat, whatever the trickery is on the labeling that gets you to justify it or whatever. You say, well, instead of eating the chips every day when I come home, I'm going to eat like this certain portion of beef jerky, or I'll get like some healthy, like non-fat Greek yogurt and add some honey to it or something, like whatever you need to do. But little things like that are going to be massive in the long run. But fitness is not something that you just start and stop. It's who you are. It's what you like to do every single day. Now, to wrap all this up, I want to give you so much love and appreciation once again for supporting this podcast. Like I said, next week we should be having one of those guests on the podcast, and I'm super excited to talk with them and see what's new that's going on with them and pick their brain about their past, present, and future, basically. If you enjoyed this podcast, the number one way to help is to share it with a friend. And the second best and probably equally good option is to rate and review it. All of those things really help the podcast. And I guess that's about it. Thank y'all so much. If you stuck through the episode, I love you. And I'll talk to you later. All right. Bye.